15.8 seconds left in the second period. Montreal leads 4-0. Max Pacioretty picks up the puck, flying down the left side. The crowd is loud, the game feels like it's already decided, but in just 1 second, everything will change. Because Max is about to hit a piece of metal the NHL already knew was dangerous, and in that single second, his neck will break. What follows will shake the entire hockey world. Sponsors threaten to walk away. Police open a criminal investigation. Every arena in North America gets rebuilt. But before we get to that, you need to understand the fire boiling under the ice that night. It's March 8th, 2011. Boston versus Montreal. This isn't just a hockey game. It's a century-old war. A month earlier, these two teams combined for 189 penalty minutes in a single game. That wasn't hockey, that was chaos. And tonight, it feels even more personal. 2 months before this night, Pacioretty scored an overtime winner against Boston. In his celebration, the young 22-year-old gave Zdeno Chara, Boston's 6'9", 255-pound giant, a little shove. Small, cocky, maybe harmless, but in hockey, respect matters. And you don't shove a man that size and expect him to forget. Players later admitted something chilling. Chara spent this game hunting Pacioretty. This wasn't about the scoreboard anymore. It was about revenge. And then came the moment. Pacioretty chipped the puck past Chara at center ice. By the rules, the puck was gone. He couldn't be hit anymore. He took 3 strides forward, but Chara extended his arm, pushed into Max's upper body, and began driving him toward the boards. Except these weren't normal boards. They were heading straight for the turnbuckle, a solid metal post between the 2 benches. Everywhere else in the rink, the boards were designed to bend and flex. But this one didn't move at all. The University of Ottawa would later calculate the impact, 36 kilometers an hour into solid steel. The photo of the hit shows the padding bending under the force of Pacioretty's skull. His head snapped sideways, his brain twisted inside his skull, and his neck cracked. He dropped face down, motionless. 21,000 fans inside the arena went dead silent. Players skated over, trainers rushed onto the ice. A young man lay face down, not moving after smashing headfirst into steel. Montreal's goalie Carey Price later said something that should haunt everyone. Chara had 3 or 4 strides to see what was going to happen. Think about that. At NHL speed, that's almost 2 full seconds where Chara could have let up, angled differently, or pulled away. 2 full seconds to choose a different outcome. Instead, Max went headfirst into metal. Referees made their call. 5 minutes for interference and a game misconduct. But here's the decision that changed everything. No match penalty. In plain English, that meant they didn't believe Chara intended to injure, just interference gone wrong. On the ice, Dr. David Mulder worked quickly. Pacioretty still hadn't moved. The team carefully stabilized his neck. One wrong motion could mean permanent paralysis. The crowd stayed frozen in their seats as Max was lifted onto a stretcher. Then finally, a small sign of hope. He could move his fingers and toes. He wasn't paralyzed. At Montreal General Hospital, the diagnosis came in: a severe concussion and a non-displaced fracture of his 4th cervical vertebra. Let me make that clear. The C4 vertebra protects your spinal cord. When it breaks, you are millimeters away from losing the ability to walk, to breathe, even to live. From his hospital bed, Pacioretty watched the replay of the hit, and what he saw chilled him. He later said, "I believe he was trying to guide my head into the turnbuckle." He said he didn't mean to do it, but I felt he did mean to do it. While Max lay in a hospital bed with a broken neck, the NHL made a decision that would send shockwaves across the sport. The next day, the entire hockey world waited for the league's decision. Everyone expected a suspension, maybe even a long one. A young player nearly lost his life on live television. Surely there had to be consequences. But on March 9th, the verdict came down. No suspension, no fine, nothing. The league's explanation: they called it a hockey play that resulted in an injury, a fractured neck, just a hockey play. The official statement even highlighted that Zdeno Chara had no history of dirty hits in his 13-year career. A clean record, they said, meant there was no intent to injure. But here's the problem: the NHL was obsessed with proving intent. Did Chara mean to break Pacioretty's neck? Probably not. But does that really matter? If you drive 100 miles an hour through a school zone and hit someone, no one cares if you meant to. You were reckless. Someone got hurt. There are consequences. Just not in the NHL, not in 2011. Lying in his hospital bed, Pacioretty showed more maturity than the entire league office. He said, "I'm upset and disgusted that the league didn't think enough of the hit to suspend him. I'm not mad for myself. I'm mad because if other players see a hit like that and think it's okay, then other players will get hurt like I got hurt." A 22-year-old with a broken neck, more worried about protecting others than himself. And that's when the outrage began to build. Fans crashed the NHL's website. Montreal alone sent over 30,000 angry emails. Reporters filled the airwaves with fury, but the most shocking response didn't come from fans or media. It came from a powerful sponsor, one of the biggest in the league. The first big blow didn't come from inside hockey. It came from outside. Air Canada, the official airline of the NHL, sponsoring all 6 Canadian teams, sent a letter that shook the league. They warned that unless serious action was taken, they would pull their sponsorship. In simple words, we don't want our brand connected to a sport that allows life-threatening injuries without consequences. Millions of dollars were suddenly on the line, and Air Canada wasn't alone. Vita Rail also stepped forward, reconsidering their own sponsorship. Even the Prime Minister of Canada made a statement. Then came the unthinkable. Jeff Molson, owner of the Montreal Canadiens, publicly criticized the league. Owners almost never challenged the NHL in public, but this time, even he couldn't stay silent. The pressure was building fast, and that it crossed into something hockey had never seen before. On March 10th, at 8:47 a.m., the Montreal police announced a criminal investigation for attempted murder. That's right, a hit during a hockey game was being treated like a possible crime. It got so intense that police had to release a public statement asking people to stop calling 911 about the incident. Emergency lines were jammed with fans reporting what they thought they had witnessed, an assault on live TV. For months, detectives investigated. They interviewed players, reviewed video from every angle, and even questioned Chara himself after the Bruins went on to win the Stanley Cup. Imagine that. One moment you're lifting the most famous trophy, the next you're being asked if you tried to kill someone. By November, no charges were filed. They couldn't prove criminal intent, but the damage was already done. For the first time in history, NHL players knew what you do on the ice could land you in a police station. And just as the legal pressure faded, the league made a quiet but telling move. Before the next season began, something remarkable happened. Quietly, without announcements or press conferences, the NHL rebuilt every single arena in North America. 30 rinks, millions of dollars, one purpose: remove the deadly metal turnbuckles. They didn't admit fault. They didn't apologize. They just replaced them with curved glass designed to bend and deflect players safely back toward the ice. If the Pacioretty hit happened today, chances are he'd get up and skate away. But the changes didn't stop there. The NHL also created something brand new: the Department of Player Safety. For decades, discipline had been handled behind closed doors with little explanation. Now, every suspension would come with a public video breaking down the play frame by frame. Rules were rewritten, shifting from only punish intent to finally including recklessness and dangerous outcomes. Everything fans had demanded after Pacioretty. Just too late for him. Meanwhile, Max faced the hardest battle of his life. He missed the rest of 2011, enduring long months of rehab. Post-concussion symptoms made him question if he'd ever play again. Headaches, dizziness, memory lapses, the kind of invisible wounds that can end a career in silence. But against all odds, he came back. Not just to play, but to shine. The very next season, he scored 33 goals. The season after, 39. He became captain of the Montreal Canadiens and went on to play more than 850 NHL games. A broken neck didn't stop him, but the story wasn't finished yet because the man who hit him, Zdeno Chara, was still waiting in the background. Chara was never suspended for the hit. 3 months later, he lifted the Stanley Cup and went on to play until age 45, retiring as one of the game's legends. For years, he and Pacioretty never spoke, but a year after the collision, Chara called. And what Pacioretty said showed the kind of person he truly is. The more I thought about it, the more I grew up, I realized he was truthfully sorry. It honestly was a mistake. It's a rare glimpse of forgiveness in a sport built on grudges. But this story was never just about two men. It was about a league forced to face its own dark truth. For decades, the NHL acted like it was still the 1970s, policing itself, brushing off catastrophic injuries as part of the game. It took one horrifying moment on March 8, 2011, for the world to push back. A broken neck, a police investigation, sponsors threatening to walk away, and finally arenas and rules rebuilt to keep players safe. Today, every NHL player benefits from those changes. The curved glass protects them. The Department of Player Safety exists. The culture is slowly shifting towards speed and skill instead of violence. But here's what still lingers. How many players were hurt in silence before this? How many careers ended without cameras, without outrage, without change? It shouldn't take a near death on live television to make a sport safer. It shouldn't take corporate threats or criminal investigations for a league to care about its players. But sometimes, the most important changes come from the worst moments. One hit, less than a second, but the shockwaves lasted for years. And today, Max Pacioretty can skate, can play with his kids, can live a normal life. He was lucky. The next player might not be. That's the story of 15.8 seconds that changed hockey forever. If you found this story as shocking as I did, Hit that subscribe button for more untold moments in sports history, and let me know in the comments, after everything you've heard, should Chara have been suspended?